Hello and welcome to our hot topic. And the topic is teacher burnout. And this is by Emily Kimbrough and Laura Pina. So the first slide here, we are defining what teacher burnout is. So burnout is considered a state of chronic stress that leads to physical and emotional exhaustion, cynicism and detachment, and feelings of ineffectiveness and lack of accomplishment. Now, burnout can happen in any job, but unfortunately it is more common in the educational profession. So we have 6 guiding questions that we thought would really help us figure what teacher burnout is. Our first question is, how long does it take for a teacher to experience burnout? Number 2, what is the major cause or causes of teacher burnout? Number 3, is there a part of the country that experiences more teacher burnout? Number 4, is there a particular group that gets burnt out more easily? Number 5, is there a particular month where teachers feel more burned out when compared to the other months? And number 6, who is more likely to feel burned out, veteran teachers or new teachers? So our first question, we look at how long it takes for a teacher to experience burnout. Well, we found that it is about a year, and this is due to the fact that between 40 to 50% of new teachers quit within the first year. And unfortunately, it is found that it is not just new teachers who get burnt out. Within actually the first 5 years, 19 to 30% of teachers leave the profession. And it doesn't stop there. Burnout doesn't only impact new teachers. Overall attrition rates in the United States are high as compared to other countries who have high teacher retention rates. The United States is around 8%, and that is high compared to countries such as Finland, Canada, and Singapore, in which their attrition rates are between 3 to 4% only. That means that they only lose 3 to 4% of their teacher population, whereas the United States loses 8% every year. The second question is, what is a major cause or causes of teacher burnout? Well, in a recent study, it was found that the major cause for teacher burnout was lack of reciprocity. And this specific study looked at the relationship between the teachers and the students and the teachers and the schools. So there was a total of 257 participants. There was 155 women, 155 men, 102 women. They found that the average age was 45 years, and the ages for each participant was between 23 to 59 years old. The major causes that they found were, the first one, student investment, meaning that the teachers felt that they invested a lot of time into their students, but in return, they did not feel like they received as much as they put in. So as a result, they experienced emotional exhaustion and depersonalization. The next one that they found was school investment, meaning that these teachers were involved, they were putting in hours, and in return they were not feeling like they were being appreciated. Again, there was high levels of emotional exhaustion with that. The last one that they found was personal accomplishment. So with this, teachers who had, let's say, low student success felt like they were not really meeting the accomplishment that they had of becoming a teacher. They weren't being effective. So then we looked at, is there a part of the country that experiences more teacher burnout? We were curious about that. Is there states where, there are teachers who are burnt out more easily than other states? And we found that Arizona and New Mexico had the highest turnover. This is according to data we got from Learning Policy Institute, which was an analysis of educational statistics on staffing. And it was a survey that was completed between 2011 and 2014. And we found that Arizona had the highest turnover rate with 24%, and New Mexico coming in second place with 23%. Now, there are a few reasons why this happened, but we'll look into that in just a bit. But we did find also that the region with the highest turnover of teachers in the United States is the South, with almost 17% turnover annually. And this is actually not just a region crisis, it is actually a national crisis. Like we looked at the a few slides before, the United States has the highest teacher turnover. And as we looked a little deeper, one of the main reasons, again, might be that Arizona and New Mexico have very low annual teacher salaries. So if we found that it is between 47,218 and 47,163 respectively. Now keep in mind that the national average for teacher salary is around 60,000, and the California state average salary is 80,000 a year. So that is a very big difference in salaries. So now we look into the next part of the question, which is there a particular group that gets burned out more quickly? And we found that yes, male teachers and special education teachers are amongst the groups who are more susceptible to teacher burnout. So there was a study that was more of a survey in which around 200 participants were surveyed, and we found that yes, male teachers are more susceptible to burnout as compared to their female counterparts. And a lot of that emotional exhaustion they found was maybe due to the way that men are perceived in society, where they're more of, more competitive, and women are more nurturing. So because men aren't used to this type of capacity, according to the survey, then that is why men have more emotional exhaustion than women, whereas women are, generally viewed as caregivers. So that was why men were burnt out more easily than women. And then of course, special education teachers, they experience higher levels of burnout due to lack of occupational success and excessive workload. They often have to handle, harder cases with their students. But it was also found that teachers who were mindful in their special education had a lower level of burnout. So then this is a question that we wanted to really find out if there was a time where teachers experienced burnout the most. Unfortunately, we didn't find any information that had a connection between burnout and the time of the year. However, Kimberly had some personal insight from her experience that she's had as a teacher, and I would have to agree with her as well. In most districts, we're talking about, not a year-round school, but a school where students, it's only 10 months. There are 2 months where there are no holidays. This is including October and March, or April, depending on when your spring break is. And between the lack of holidays, where the months are both located in the school year, it feels very easy to become burnt out. So during October, this is a few months after the start of the school year has begun, we start seeing behavioral problems. We usually call, the August, September part of the year the honeymoon phase, and then all of a sudden October, that's when the real behavioral problems start coming in. Um, Grades might be due, report cards. So those are major things that can easily make a teacher become more burned out during that month. Also during March, there is statewide testing for grades 3 and up. And this, of course, adds more pressure. And also pairing that up with, students are already over school. So that is two things that would burn out a teacher during those months. So then we looked at, after looking at all those guiding questions, is there a remedy for teacher burnout? So we found yes, there is a remedy. We find that time management, communication, planning are all part of reducing stress. And these aren't things that would cure teacher burnout, but they would definitely help a teacher with not going into the burnout phase. So, of course, with proper time management, it prevents compulsive behavior, and that would improve so that teachers wouldn't feel burnt out. Having teacher support groups or just communicating with peers, because sometimes as teachers we tend to be very private about our feelings. We might feel, that they're going to judge us, we're not good enough. So communication with, it could be with a colleague or a spouse, somebody that you really trust, could help prevent burnout. And of course, having time for yourself, planning leisure time to have time for yourself, because sometimes it is very stressful to be in an environment where students need from us, and it's hard to find time for ourselves during the school year. So then we looked, is there an actual cure for teacher burnout? And yes, we found that changing the dynamics of school administration is the cure for teacher burnout. And of course, as teachers, sometimes the management has a lot to do with the way that the school is ran, the way that the environment is in the school, if we feel like we are being supported. So this is something that really would cure stress in the long run. Also taking recommendations from other teachers about what is happening in the classroom, using that information school-wide instead of just hearing individual teachers. And here are a few tips if you feel like you're experiencing burnout. It is important to reach out. Isolation makes it worse. You never want to keep the problems to yourself. Talking about it with anybody can alleviate stress. Remember that this does not just happen to teachers who are first-year teachers. It can happen to veteran teachers as well. So remember that you're not alone. This happens to everyone. And then, of course, take time for yourself. Take time to really think about what you need, what your needs are, before taking care of somebody else. And remember that you're only human. We are allowed to have these feelings, and sometimes it's hard to let go. But don't forget that there is people that you can talk to. So at the end of our presentation, there is a quiz that you can take. Please take the time to upload our PowerPoint presentation, and that way you can take the quiz at the end. Thank you for hearing our presentation, and have a great day.